This is day 63 in the Hamas-Israel war, and the IDF unmanned aerial vehicles are controlling the skies of the Gaza Strip, supporting the ground forces that are maneuvering and clearing out Hamas's positions from the Gaza Strip. I'm Yair Pinto, reporting to you from Israel. The fighting in the Gaza Strip continues, and in the southern part of Gaza, IDF forces have captured the house of Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas's military wing in the Gaza Strip, and the person in charge of the terror attacks that Hamas conducted against Israel on the 7th of October, 2 months ago. 2 months ago, Hamas's terrorists conducted a surprise attack that targeted Israeli civilians in Israeli cities surrounding the Gaza Strip. And now, 2 months later, on the second candle of the Jewish high holiday of Hanukkah, the Israeli forces have captured his house. This is a huge achievement, and the IDF is maneuvering in the symbol city of Hamas, which is Khan Yunis. In Khan Yunis, Yahya Sinwar, the military leader of Hamas, was born, as well as Muhammad Def, another terror mastermind of Hamas's organization. An IDF soldier took a picture inside the house of Yahya Sinwar holding his credit card. This is an amazing achievement, particularly for the families of the victims that were impacted on the 7th of October attacks against Israel. We are still looking for the hostages inside the Gaza Strip, but hopefully, as we are closing in on Hamas locations, we will be able to release them. As part of the operation to neutralize Hamas's positions and terrorists in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, the IDF mobilized its ground and air forces and was encountered by a huge amount of Hamas terrorists, because these locations are symbols for the terror organization, and also because the IDF has a strong control of the northern part of Gaza. Many of Hamas's terrorists fled to the south together with the civilian population. Hamas conducted a joint offensive against the IDF forces, amongst the biggest we've seen in this war. And the IDF was able to neutralize one unit of Hamas, while 5 others emerged from all different locations surrounding the Israeli troops. After the unmanned aerial vehicles and the Air Force stepped in the picture, it was all over for Hamas, and the IDF was able to neutralize Hamas's terrorists, capture its leaders, and some of them even surrendered and put down their guns. This means that Hamas is really struggling, because this is the heart of this organization and where it was born. Let me repeat that. Dozens of Hamas terrorists surrendered to the Israeli forces in the Gaza Strip. They raised their hands up, put down their arms, and surrendered to the Israeli troops after 2 months of fighting against the IDF, and after conducting the worst terror attack against Israeli civilians since the inception of the Jewish state. This is a war, and of course, watching pictures of terrorists, their hands are tied, and that they're being transported on trucks is not a nice picture. I understand that. But first of all, you need to remember that these people conducted a war against Israel only a few minutes ago before they surrendered. These people launched rockets, fired guns and AK-47s at the troops, and moreover, the IDF found multiple explosive vests that were meant to be used as suicide bombers. In many incidents, the IDF was attacked by a suicide bomber that was running behind a person that surrendered. So what would you do? What the IDF is doing is, first of all, to make sure that there's no threat by telling the terrorist to lift up his shirt to see that he does not have an explosive vest on him. There are no buses in the Gaza Strip, so that's why the terrorists were transported out of Gaza like that. In Israel, they will receive the treatment of a modern country that is in war, according to the international law and according to the laws of Israel. It was very important for me to explain this situation. These people carried out a terror attack against Israeli civilians 2 months ago, only 2 months ago, and they still hold some 150 Israelis as hostages, including women, children, and the elderly in the Gaza Strip. In the northern part of the Gaza Strip, the fighting continues, and the IDF is still encountering multiple terrorists of Hamas on different locations. Some of them choose to surrender after their tunnels were flooded or the location was compromised. And at the same time, others choose to continue the fighting. Just imagine the situation of the IDF soldiers. They are living under constant threat at any given time. And yet, they have to deal with the civilian population and with the terrorists that are surrendering. Please join me in prayer for wisdom for the IDF troops and for safety for them and all the units that are operating inside the Gaza Strip. We are fighting another war here, the war for the public opinion. In this war, we are winning, but in the war for the public opinion, somehow we are losing. Because Hamas supporters and Hamas leaders compare the Israeli army to the Nazis or to other terrible entities that had no respect for human lives. This is a war, and the IDF is fighting an enemy that seeks to destroy us. And yet, the IDF is doing anything in its power in order to protect the civilian population of the Gaza Strip and to liberate it from Hamas's control. This is very hard, and the IDF is risking its own soldiers' life in order to do that. So please join me in prayer for the Israeli soldiers to have wisdom and for the hostages to be quickly released and united with their loved ones. And I would like to wish you a happy Hanukkah from Israel, and please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem.